This is how cattle farmers make a comeback. Welcome to the herd. So if you've been around here for a while, you know we had army worms wipe us out this summer, and then we had a drought, which is a recipe for disaster when you're trying to cut your own hay for your cows. But we figured out a way we're gonna fix part of the problem. So one thing the army worms did is they made it to where we didn't have enough hay to cut. And then the drought made it to where the grass wasn't growing back in a timely manner. So we wound up having a big blessing, and we found some hay we could buy, but hay is expensive. There's just no other way around it. We were thankful to have found some, but we by no means have enough hay to feed our cows. And then not only that, we're raising our own calves for meat production. So we still have about 35 of last year's calves, along with a whole new crop of calves. We probably have close to 50 calves that were born this year. That's a whole lot more animals to take through the winter than just your herd of cows when you raise them and then sell their calves off in a few months. So we need a whole lot more hay than most people with a herd our size. So what you're seeing behind me is one of our hay fields, and normally we would let these grow up instead of cutting a third time, and we would graze our cows for fall grazing on here. It does two things. It gives them more grazing later into the fall, and it eliminates the massive amount of hay that we need, because the longer we can graze, the less we're out here putting out hay, which when we had to buy it was quite expensive. So that is really a hard loss we took. It may look to you like there's grass out here, but this is nothing compared to years past what it would look like at this time with skipping our third cutting of hay. So we took some hard losses this year, and we've come up with a solid plan on what we're gonna do to fix it. So this past weekend, I took a class, and if anyone's interested, I can point you in the right direction on how to AI cows and how to preg check your own cows. And you may be like, what in the world is she talking about? AIing stands for artificially inseminating. So that eliminates your use of a bull. You use straws and impregnate your cows that way, manually using just knowledge and knowing the parts of the reproductive system of the cows and your hand. It's really quite interesting. And then knowing how to preg check your own animals is an invaluable tool. That way you can know who's bred and who is open. And I'm gonna show you some drone footage of our cows right now. So I don't know how much you could tell from that drone footage, but we have a lot of black cows. We have other colors as well, but we have a lot of black ones. And some reason, the black ones tend to lose their tags. We've used all different types of tags. We've tagged both ears. We've done all kinds of stuff, and they will inevitably still lose their tags. And they look almost exactly alike. So it's really difficult. Sometimes they have a little distinguishing feature just because we know our cows so well. Maybe one is fuzzier or has like a little patch of white on its udder or whatever the case may be, that we can distinguish them. But a lot of times we just can't. And if you don't know how to determine if your cows are bred or not, you could just be feeding a whole lot of cows that are open, or meaning not bred. And not bred cattle equals loss of revenue, and you're just dumping money into an animal that is providing no return. So let's take a ride back up through the field, and I have a couple things to show you on our plan we have devised on how to fix some of our problems. So I thought I was going to this class to learn to AI and preg check cows, but I learned so much more. I learned about proper managing techniques for your herd, things to make your herd more profitable, all kinds of things. And I came home with so much knowledge and a solid plan. So what is our plan? What are we doing? Because we probably at this point still don't have enough hay. We thought we did, but when you put a pencil to the paper, we really don't for the amount of cows that we have. Instead of going and investing in more hay, we're gonna invest in things that will take us so much further. And that starts with right here in this trailer. So I want to give you an overview of our fields where our cows graze. It's about 100 acres, and I want to show you kind of what it looks like right at this present moment. You guys have seen it before. It got very, very bare when the armyworms came through and then the drought. It was a total double whammy, and it was pretty devastating. But I want to show you what it looks like right at this moment. So you can see it's greening back up. Some of that is weeds, some of that is clover coming back. We had a ton of clover this spring, and that was such a blessing. It's the white Ladino clover. It made really great grazing, but you just can't live on clover. Clover does not last all summer. When it got really hot and really dry, it kind of dried and shriveled up, and then we just had big bare spots of dirt. But here is our plan to come back bigger and better. This right here. So we made a trip and we purchased 4,000 pounds of grass seed. Now, if you have a small homestead, I never want people to think that while they have a lot of land, this does not apply to me. You can take anything you see on our channel and you can scale it down to an acre or half an acre or a quarter of an acre or whatever the case may be. You can homestead on a small, tiny tract of land, and that is exactly where we started. If you followed us very long, you know that when we started our channel, we were literally on a yard and a couple little pastures. We were not farming or raising cattle on this big of a scale at all. Not even a tenth of this scale that we are now. So don't think that you can't scale this down to you, because you can. But we went and bought a local grass seed fall pasture mix, and you can do that at your local seed companies as well. This is a blend formulated for our area, and it's things that will grow well over the winter. Things like wheat, rye, things like that. There's more things in it, but you wouldn't want to plant like warm weather grasses. Like you would not want to go out and start putting out Bermuda seed or fescue seed, even anything like that this time of year. You need to plant things that are going to grow through the winter and then give you early grazing in the spring. So that is number one, improving our pastures even further so that we have earlier grazing in the spring. We can't necessarily extend the fall after we've had the drought and the armyworms, but we can bring an early spring. So that's tip number one. So we literally broadcast this seed. You want to get it, if you can drill it, if you can rent a drill, or if you have a drill, even better. But you can just go out with your hand and broadcast the seed and just try to get it as in as good a close contact with the ground as you can, so that it can germinate and it can draw moisture and things from the ground. And you won't have as good a germination as you would if you drill it, but you'll do okay. And we figured it up, did the math, and we could buy more seed and not rent a drill and come out way ahead. So that's what we're doing. We will lose some seed because we're not drilling it, but we're still gonna come out okay on it. So secondly, I told you about my class. Where does that come into play? Where is all this gonna tie together? This video is kind of all over the place. Well, let me show you. So you can see the chutes are empty right now. The vet cage is sitting out away from everything. No cows up here right now, but that is about to change. So we actually poured concrete. We are putting in some scales, and that is about to get put to some good use. Because for one, we have a whole group of heifers that needs to be bred. And instead of buying a bull that is suitable to breed to heifers, because you can't just take any old bull and breed it to heifers. Heifers are cows that have either had one calf or no calves, and they need to have a fairly small, manageable calf for them to deliver the first couple times, or you could be in for big trouble. So instead of doing that, I am going to try my hand at AIing them and see how that turns out. See if we can't get some half South Poles that then we could either keep and repopulate our herd or sell, and that could generate some income for the farm. It's a great way. AIing can step up your cattle game in a big hurry. Rather than buying a bull, you can buy just a straw of semen and you can totally change your herd. You need to know what you're doing so you don't change it for the worse, because you could do that as well. But I showed you also a peek under that tarp. That's concrete. We're actually also putting in some weighing scales. We're about to get up our big herd of cows as well, and this is where we are about to make our big comeback. Those black cows I told you about that lost their tags, and we have no idea who's had a baby and who hasn't out of that little group, and we have about 7 that have not calved, and that's a big problem. So I'm about to put my training of preg checking to the test. We have the IMV that we used last spring. We have their ultrasound machine back. I'm gonna be preg checking. You can literally do it with your hand and a glove, and I'll walk you guys through that when we get to it. I'm gonna use the ultrasound machine, and then we're also gonna use some blood tests. So we've got 3 lines of defense, and if they are not bred, they have to go. At this point, they just have to. We have fed open cows for too long, and I would encourage you guys, you cannot do that. If it's your like sentimental pet that you want to keep forever and it's like one cow, I could see you doing it, but you can't keep a whole herd of cows that are not producing calves for you, because you're feeding a pet at that point. And that's okay if that's your goal, but if your goal is to make your farm pay for itself and to make money at it and to be able to keep growing and things like that, providing food for your family, even if that's your goal, you cannot feed open cows. It's the biggest takeaway I took away from my class. So we'll be getting the cows up here in the next week or so. We'll be preg checking, we'll be doing all the things, and we'll take you guys along, and then they are gonna be sold. And that is going to help our situation tremendously. That's gonna be our big comeback. The grass, repopulating the grass out here in the field, and then also thinning our herd down. If they are not being productive, they have to go, because we just don't have the funds, we don't have the hay, we don't have the grass to feed cows that are not having calves. And so that's what I wanted to make this video about, because if you are doing that, if you're doing poor management like we have been, don't be too hard on yourself. Everybody does it from time to time, but when we know better, we do better. And that's where we're at right now. We know better now, and we have to do better. So I encourage you to do the same. Do your research, figure out what grasses grow in your area. The grass seed was not expensive, guys. It was pretty manageable in my opinion, and that's a really good source of feed for the spring for your animals, whether it's cows or no matter what it is. Get some grass seed in the ground. It's not too late here in our zone. We're in zone 7B. If you're north of us, it may be getting too late to be planting fall pastures, but I just encourage you, check into that, do your research, learn and grow. That's what it's all about on a farm, as well as any other type of endeavor you take on. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys, and we're gonna be showing you all of this step by step. I wanna do more cow videos and show you, like, literally educate you as I'm learning on how to be a better manager, because people will tell you there is no money in cows, and that could not be further from the truth. There's no money in poorly managed herds of cows, but I would hate to see young people not go into the cattle industry because they think they can't make a living at it, because you absolutely can. And so I want to encourage you all I can to get better at what you're doing, no matter what that is. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. God bless.